Hello, Mind Body Energy Project.
Hello, community.
How you doing, Tiffy?
I'm doing pretty good.
Oh, yeah?
It was supposed to be a pretty easy day today, like schedule load wise. And, it flew by and I had a million things to do. So that's just how that goes sometimes.
Yeah, I'm still trying to find my footing. I feel like I've not entirely rebalanced yet, but I am working on it.
Footing and rebalancing from what, your vacation?
Yeah, and just life. I mean, sleep,
Yeah.
like all of it. I'm trying to rebalance, but I guess I shouldn't have said footing considering
I was
your
just going to
situation.
say refooting and rebalancing from vacation seems unfair with present company.
Oh, for those of you who missed it,
I broke my foot.
poor Tiffy. The things that happens when she travels. So, yeah, it feels good to be back. We're finally back on like a normal schedule in terms of podcasting. However, we do have a few announcements. So I'll do mine before we do yours, because yours we're gonna like whatever that's called.
Mutita.
So the first thing we want to say is thank you so much to all of the MBE insiders. It's been an amazing year of being able to share bonus content with you all. However, this will be our final month. So after our last live event at the end of October, we will be shutting down the MBE patron page because we're both super busy with personal projects and other things that we look forward to share with everybody.
The podcast will continue on. We will be here every week doing podcasts for you. So that's not going anywhere. It's just our Patreon account with the bonus content.
Yes. So, but we do thank you so much for supporting us behind the scenes for this last year. And if, of course, you can always stay in connection with us. So, Tiffy, why don't you share?
Before I share mine, also, part of the reason we need more time is because we talk all the time about retreats or doing workshops and traveling to do workshops with MBE projects. So that's part of the reasoning behind that too. It's going to open up more time for us to put greater projects out into the world.
Yes. Speaking of projects.
I have birthed my baby.
Honey. When I tell you, Mutita! Woo! Yes, babe. I did my Mutita backwards, but sorry.
So the project that I have been building up a lifetime towards studying and trying to figure out what my insatiable curiosity of knowledge has come from and needing to absorb things, it came together in a course about the chakra system and how we utilize it for self-healing. And to teach us more about ourselves, and then also to get into our own fields of energy to really understand who and what we are physically, emotionally, spiritually, all of the things. And I condensed it into a course that's online.
How is the course structured? Like how many modules and what does it look like?
There are about 8 modules, I believe. And then there's 7 modules that are completely dedicated to each chakra. And within each of those modules, there's 6 chapters. And those chapters, in each of the chakras, it tells you the basics about the chakra, color, location, Sanskrit word and its meaning. And then it gives you the attributes of the chakra. Then there's journaling, guided journaling, to sort out kind of whatever our issues are that reside within that energy. And then there's meditations for all of them. So there's 3 meditations per chakra. They're guided. So it just really helps people get into their energy.
Well, that's really cool. Well, I have to reconnect us to Facebook just as a little sideline.
It just went live on my thing and it's a Dodgers game. And I was like, that is not what I was watching.
So those of you in the podcast arena, please give us a moment as we reconnect with our Facebook Live. But Tiffy, that is so exciting because just for all of you listening, so you know, when I tell you she put her heart into this, and Tiffy is a bit of a perfectionist. You are.
A little
And
bit, yeah.
so I really knew that she wasn't going to put it out until she knew or felt that it was right. So the fact that she has brought this to life is so exciting.
And
So
I'll tell
exciting.
you, I told Yolanda this yesterday. I was going to be putting it out, and I came up against some obstacles that I almost use as excuses to not put out. And I overcame them. I've come up with a plan to deal with them, but in all intents and purposes, it is out there and it's live and people can access it and have it be yours. And that said, my special offer, the first 9 people who sign up will receive distant Reiki sessions. So personalized Reiki sessions.
And that's exciting.
Yeah.
It's exciting and super generous. My goodness.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like a perfect pairing, though, especially if you're doing work on your chakras, that you would then also have an opportunity to have support with personal energetic alignment. Yeah, that's perfect.
And when I do Reiki sessions, I do chakra readings. So that is a staple of my Reiki sessions.
Fancy schmancy.
Yeah.
So where can people find this?
If you go to my Instagram at mind_your_chakras, you can follow there. And then there's a link to the courses in the bio. And then also if you want to go to mindyourchakras.com, there's a page that says courses, and it's the only course that's up there. So that's how it can be accessed.
So I will make sure that that's in the show description, both of those, the Instagram link as well as the website link, so that it is easily accessible. So congratulations, Tiffy, for bringing the baby in the world.
Thank you.
Mutita. I'm so proud of you. I mean, I think we mentioned this before, but it really does take a lot of time and energy and thought and to put together something that may, be a shorter amount of time for people to go through, but the actual creation portion of it, man, I'm really proud of you. So high five up top, babe.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So before we get into today's topic, just want to ask you more personally, are you doing better with that broken foot? Like, how are you recovering?
Well, it's like 6 to 8 weeks for a broken bone to repair. This one is being used a little bit more because I have to walk and drive and do things to live life.
Yeah.
So it's been 2 weeks and it feels like it's been 8 months.
Oh.
Yeah. So, I'm just trying to be patient. I was really, really patient the first week and then really patient the second week. And now I'm just like, how much longer do I have to keep this up?
Right.
So,
oh my goodness.
constantly living and learning.
Constantly. Well, listen, it's good that you're on repair. Although, I always tell you, sit it down, because God knows you are always on the move. So hopefully you're taking some time to allow your foot to heal, which actually kind of can segue into what we're talking about today.
Yes.
So why don't you share that with us, Tiffy?
Well, I'm not really exactly sure what we landed on as a title, but the idea of it is how our physical body it's a vessel for our spiritual body, in a sense, and that our physical body is constantly absorbing messages and energy from our environments and from our experiences, and kind of they can direct us. It's not just necessarily our mind or our brain that's assimilating information, but our body does it as well. And it's always giving us signals. And that shows up and manifests in many different ways. Sometimes it manifests as a broken foot.
Oh, geez. Well, the thing about it, I think, is so cool, and I'm glad we're talking about it, is a lot of times when we mention the body or taking care of the body, like our minds automatically just go to like nutrition, which is obviously a big portion, or physical fitness and these things, but we don't tend to look at or talk much about the body as this spiritual vehicle. And I think when we do take time to observe it, it gives us more of an appreciation of like being in these things, and then also maybe having more understanding of why it's so important to maintain them on the, with the other aspects. So I want to ask you, first of all, was there like any particular practice or something that you did that started to bring you into a deeper like awareness or just baseline relationship with your body?
Meditation.
Mm-hmm.
I've said this many times on this podcast, and how important meditation had become in my life, dealing with anxiety disorder and feeling that anxiety manifesting physically in my body, and then causing a spiral of anxiety constantly. And it wasn't until, and I work out, I'm a personal trainer, a yoga teacher, like there was no amount of working out, because a lot of times you say, oh, just go work out and you'll work it out, and that's true. That is very true. You move energy around, you shift the hormones, and we can release things that'll help us calm down. But if there's other things going on in our field and our mind, there's working it out might just not be enough. And for me, it had gotten to that point, and it was meditation that was really important for me to use my mind to get into my body, because my body was just reacting to things because I wasn't in it. And this still happens quite a bit. My body will react, and then my mind goes all crazy thinking about what's going on or what could be, when it's really just me not being in my body and connecting to it.
No, totally. I like that. Like what you said just stood out, using the mind to come into the body. And I think that is, that's like foundational, which is why I think meditation is a foundational practice in like almost everything that you can study in this realm, whether it's yoga, Reiki, whatever, they all have that component of meditation for our self-connection. I think for me too, what helped me come into a deeper relationship with my body was two different things. The first thing was yoga class, and it was the silliest thing, but it was one of those moments where, I was probably doing like a forward bend, and, you think you can't reach, well, I couldn't reach my toes. And the teacher came over and put his hand on my back and told me like, take a deep breath and then exhale and like go in deeper. And the fact that worked just like blew my mind. Like, what? Like I just took, and I was able to bend deeper into the posture, just like on the breath like that. That was kind of like, that was mind blowing to me. And then, yeah, I think probably Reiki is something that made me more curious about the function of this thing. Like, woo, you can feel things that are unseen, and then even starting to have conversations with what you feel in the body, and recognizing that the body is storing and holding information. That made me very, very curious about how this thing works beyond, again, what we're told generally.
Yeah. It's interesting that you bring that up, because as you say that, it makes me think about how I already knew that stuff was possible. I knew that our bodies gave us messages, and they held more than, just what we were told, but I didn't know how to get there. And Reiki and meditation is what did get me there. Yeah,
no, I didn't know that, honey. If you would have told me like years prior to doing this work, if you were like, there's a message in your shoulder, I'd feel like, what are you smoking? Like, what? Like, no, I just need to take some aspirin. Okay. Like, I'm going to be okay. But,
let's just make this feeling go away, because it ain't no message.
Yes, exactly. And that's the thing too. That's been one of the biggest gifts of coming into, not just into my body, to recognize how it actually feels, and starting to recognize what am I holding and where in the body, but then also again, like, what is it connected to? And the crazy thing is you start to recognize, different feelings or emotions or thoughts that all come up just by bringing your awareness into this vessel. So yeah, I think that being in body and coming into relationship with our body is just like fundamental for this life experience, even though we're often just going on autopilot and don't realize it.
Yeah. And not to bring up my class that we just announced, but part of the reason why I did this class is because the chakra system does break up our characteristics and our psychology, and it gives us an understanding of how the energy that we are, like, this body is energy. It's just very slowed down energy, in order to create mass, and it's constantly changing. I mean, we don't just fall apart and disappear, but our cells regenerate. There's something that's always constantly going on with this vessel. So to understand what that means, how the energy shifts and change, and to understand how energy such as a thought or an emotion, which is intangible, but it's still energy, or just sound vibrations, how they come into this physical matter and shift and change it.
Well, you say that, it makes me think of how, one, everything has a vibration, everything is energetic, even what we perceive as being solid and matter, and yes, right? But you saying that too, it made me think of how I don't think we think about how alive the body is. So not that we are alive in the body, but the body itself is alive with all of this like movement and motion. And just like you said, the vibration of it all, like even though you feel like you're still like, no, stuff is happening. Like your lungs are expanding, contracting, blood is moving through your veins. Like
your bone is being repaired by
your
these
bone is healing
in there. Yeah.
Your mind is going, like, and it's really cool too. You think about coming to even the physical aspects of functionality, right? That you have this body that allows you to touch things and see things and smell it. Like you have this amazing ability to be perceptive and receptive, and like I am in awe sometimes when I allow myself to tune into my sensory, and I don't mean energetic, I mean just physical sensory. It could be, being in awe because of the colors in the tree, or being in awe because of the smell of like bacon. Or
it is the precursor to all knowledge and wisdom, if you think about it. We think about knowledge and wisdom as like what we learn and what our brain is functioning, but without being able to see things, without being able to touch them, without being able to experience it, there is no wisdom, because this is the central processing system of everything that's outside of it.
That's so funny you said, because, I'm working on a project too, and literally part of what I was working on this morning was talking about that, like how wisdom like is only gained through our experience. You could take all the information and knowledge you want, but you have to get the wisdom through experience. And I mean, it's like literally this experience in this realm on this planet right now, it's all possible because of this vessel that you're in that we often take for granted. And
let's talk about that, taking it for granted, because this is very close to my heart.
Okay, Tiffy.
As a personal trainer and a yoga teacher and nutrition, we do take advantage of it. And we eat shit. And sometimes we like to eat shit, and sometimes I eat shit too. But we do it, and we don't think about how much harder our body has to work in order to process this stuff. And it still keeps us alive, which we treat it like shit, but it's still doing its job, right? I think that's pretty remarkable. But then so begins the cycle, right? We eat like shit, and then we get mad about how our body looks, and then we start to beat up on our body. Like just thinking about how this process, and again, I am not free from it. I have had body issues in my life as well, and I am not free from it. I'm not on a soapbox, but this cycle of taking for granted how miraculous this machine is and what it actually does. And even when we're in our conscious life being assholes to it, we're live, sorry. It's still doing its job to carry us through this experience.
Yeah, no, it reminds me of how, like we often take things for granted until we lose it, right? And like whether it's sometimes like relationships you take for granted until it's gone, or like just all kinds of things. It could be something that you have, even a material thing, and then you don't really care until it's gone, and then you're like, oh, I missed that thing that you never touched for 10,000 years. Right. But it happens a lot without even going like extreme, because a lot of us obviously don't come into body awareness or taking care of it until some illness or some sickness like forces us into it. But I think about that even like on a much smaller scale, when even I get a cold, honey, like in those spaces where you're just like, oh, I just want to feel good. Like, I can't wait to feel good again. And then finally, like your sinus is clear, you can breathe, and it's like, and you're thankful for like a day. And then it's
Right.
like back to not paying attention,
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it is a good practice of, even like if you take time every day to acknowledge being in body, like just
Hmm.
saying, I remember, I want to think it was a yoga teacher, somebody, but they would have us like bring our awareness to our feet, like say hello to your feet, thank your feet, come up to the legs, say hello, thank your legs, like go throughout the whole body. And I think, as silly as that may sound, it really does bring you into like conscious awareness of this thing. And so that
Hmm.
you don't just keep using it without any attention.
Yeah. I just had a couple of thoughts go through my mind. Well, one thing that just came up, I wish I could catch the other thing that left my brain for a second. But what just came up right now is I was talking to one of my friends about how I had gone to a lecture at UCSD by a neuroscientist. And one of the facts that they were talking about, which I had known, but for some reason it didn't like really drive it home until I heard him actually explaining it and showing the process of it, is that when we think, we burn glucose. So we think that it's just like we're moving or exercising when we really burn glucose. But when you're thinking and learning something new, you're
Mm-hmm.
burning just as much as you would if you were exercising, because you're building new neural pathways of knowledge. So what you were talking about is I was saying to my friend, because we were in the UK and they drive on the other side of the road. And we think about like we can get in the car and just drive without thinking about it. And we're on autopilot now. But if you think back to when you were 16, or if you're trying to drive standard with the shifter on the opposite side and you're on the opposite side of the road, you're creating new neural pathways and you're burning just as much glucose. So, we take for granted how easy it is to drive here. And then all of a sudden we're shifting into this new state, and it's like you're relearning things again.
That's what I say too. It's good to break up your routine, like so that
Hmm.
you're not just functioning in autopilot. So don't drive to work the same pathway every day, or don't get up and do the exact same thing in the exact same order every day, so that you are more mindful about what you're doing.
Yeah. Here's the other thing I forgot.
Yes.
This is what I was thinking when you were talking about being mindful of the body and not taking it for granted. Sometimes I go to the other extreme, which is I get too hypervigilant about being healthy or like trying to find the next thing. And sometimes when you get into that phase, you can overdo things, if we're taking
Yeah.
supplements that we don't need. And what that leads to is not trusting in the physical body. So not trusting it to do its job. And I fall into that quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And messages come through like getting dengue fever, or breaking your foot, where your body is like, hey, bitch, let me show you what I can do. I'm not
Well,
saying that that's why it happened, but maybe.
that's reminds me. I always tell people too, like really check even how you speak to the body, how you talk about yourself, how you talk about the body,
Yeah.
but even your relationship to what you're ingesting. Because if you're eating salads or fruits and you think you're eating things that are healthy, but you're doing it out of fear, it's like you're like literally like you're
Hmm.
eating, but you're doing it in the space of like fear and anxiety, and like that's going to counteract like the
Right. The health
nutrients that are
benefits.
coming in. So yeah, I mean, it's even that, like sometimes taking the time to really pay attention to not just what you're eating, but having an appreciation for how it may be nourishing your body,
Hmm.
or even how good it tastes, whatever it is, just like having your state of mind
Hmm.
be lifted as you
Hmm.
are bringing whatever you're bringing in to your
Right.
system.
And that's what we call mindfulness.
And medication too. I just want to say as a side note, because especially nowadays with a lot of people doing alternative uh, healing and doing it even as complementary to more Western medicine, I have had sessions with people who are, doing both. They're doing the more traditional, but also implementing in the alternative. And some of them have been very upset about having to take the medication while also, doing whatever they're doing alternatively. But even with that, it's like be mindful of how you're taking whatever is supporting your wellness. And I'm not saying like everything is good for you, but if you are prescribed something that is supporting you, like really be mindful about how you're ingesting that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes across the board.
Well, that gets us into an even deeper hole about the placebo effect and what we're attached to. And I think that some medications are necessary, and they obviously are super helpful. But there have been studies that show the efficacy of some medications with the placebo effect. And what I'm not saying that you should get on a placebo, but what I'm trying to articulate is that
the power of the mind.
yeah, exactly. Because they've shown, like, there was this one study where this woman, she was given the placebo, and then after the fact, years later, she found out it was the placebo, and she was like, oh wow, the placebo is working, and it was working just like the medication. So she stopped taking the placebo, and her condition worsened. And this is a sugar pill,
right?
That she attached her mind to think that the sugar pill was doing what it was supposed to be doing. So she got back on the placebo, and then she was okay again.
Well, the interesting thing too with that is just like how much our belief, and our intentionality impacts this vessel as well. So It's like a big thing too that reminds me of, like, again, like how we speak to our body, or, like our relationship with it. Because if you are like, oh, I hate you thighs every day, like, that is not helping your body at all. I don't remember what or where, but I remember a long time ago, and listen, I don't know if this is true or not, but I remember a long time ago, someone who was very deep in the work of like mental alchemy, and they were really big on showing the power of the mind. And so they kept visualizing their self in a particular physical condition. So imagine like you kept visualizing yourself with this six-pack, right? You just kept like, you believed it, like you had that thing. And they said that, their body actually started to shift because that was the image that they held of their body. And,
did they do anything? Like, was the intention to be like, I'm going to go stay at the gym 10 minutes longer today?
No, it was all mental. It was all mental.
Did you see pictures of this?
No. And I can't remember like where I heard the story. Like, I wish I could direct you to it. I mean, we could probably Google it. I don't know. But yeah, but even, I mean, that's like extreme, but it's still very interesting. I mean, like, there are so many stories you hear about people using the will and power and intent of the mind to transform some aspect of their physicality. So, I mean, there's actually a lot out there about that.
Yeah, there is. One book in particular I read several years ago was called The Warrior Pose, and it was a guy that was actually located in San Diego for quite some time. I can't remember his name right now. Bava Ram, I think he goes by. But he broke his back pretty gnarly. And
is he the one that teaches at ginseng?
He did, yes. He no longer does, but he did, yeah.
Right.
And he wrote this book. And again, I can't qualify it, but it is what it is. But he said he sat, like, his back was broken beyond surgical repair. He had several surgeries, and the doctors were like, it's not going to happen. And he took on a meditation practice, and eventually it healed.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't doubt it, because again,
I've
heard a lot of stories like this. Like, I remember years ago when I went to the Chopra Center, what is his name? The one, he passed away a few years ago, Wayne Dyer. He told a story about how his daughter, when she was like really young, she had something, I don't remember. It was like not measles, but it was some kind of like skin condition that she had. And she started at night talking to whatever the
psoriasis?
I don't remember. I want to say it had, I don't know, but she started talking to it. She started talking to the affected area and like being really sweet and like telling it like, to heal and blah, 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 blah. And whatever it was cleared up.
Well, and so that brings us back to the point of what this is, right? I think that a lot of times, I mean, with things like, maybe she didn't have psoriasis, but psoriasis is an autoimmune disorder, and autoimmune is triggered by stress. So if we're looking at something that causes us distress, a condition or something that's happening, and we start to acknowledge it and put it into a positive frame and, talk sweet to something, it's going to damper down the stressors, which then is going to help our body to heal. So it's really understanding like what space are we putting our mind and our body in order for the body to do what it was designed to do, which is self-heal.
Well, that makes me think of too, like just very simply, like, do we ever consider what makes us feel at peace? Like
Right.
giving the body time to be at peace and rest, and not just sleep. So it's very common that we all have like active lifestyles. And I don't mean like just physically active. You could work at a desk all day and your mind, just to your point earlier too, like your mind is on overload all day.
Mm-hmm.
And then even when you go to lay down to sleep, your mind is running and race. Like, where in that has your system had an opportunity to just be at rest? And it reminds me of sometimes throughout the day, I'll take a deep breath and just let my shoulders fall, because we're always holding tension that we don't even recognize or realize. And it's just those moments of like allowing my body to come to a restful state, even, if it's small segments throughout the day. But God, like, what if you never do that?
Yeah. What I have always been an athlete, and I've gotten into personal training and stuff. So I was always like very like power, go, like I have to do this. You have to burn so many calories in order to make these transformations in your bodies. That's what I learned. And so that's what I applied for a long time. And it wasn't until I found yoga. I'm sorry. Am I boring?
No, you're not boring me. It's what I said at the beginning. I'm trying to rebalance on sleep. Listen, I had to deal with a lizard last night. Okay, go ahead. Real lizard was in my bedroom. Okay, so sorry.
Right. Okay.
Athlete.
So it wasn't until I found yoga and started doing vinyasa yoga that I started to notice how that's when I really started to understand the difference in our nervous systems. So our sympathetic nervous system and our parasympathetic nervous system. Our sympathetic nervous system is our fight or flight. It's the one that's like, oh, there's a saber-toothed tiger coming, go,
Right.
And like working, getting through life, living a busy life, and even working out, like throwing around heavy weights and doing power workouts, you're still utilizing that fight or flight system. So until you flip the switch to get into parasympathetic, which is the rest and digest, your body's never going to get that time to do the reparation that it needs to do. And to really fully transform and heal, you need time to repair. And if it's never getting that time because we're always in sympathetic mode, then that's never going to happen. And so then we get into this loop.
But that's the thing though, is like a lot of people, there's two things. One, especially on the physical level, we can become obsessive. And we think if we do something that's good for us, like, who cares? But again, too much of anything is no good. So like if we become obsessive and push our body physically to the limit, I mean, I think of how many people that are like professional dancers, like ballerinas, or, people that are professional athletes, and the wear and tear on their bodies, and like what
professional bodybuilders,
man, I mean, it's a lot, like right? But then on the other hand, I don't think a lot of people associate or recognize how exhausting it is. Like, we might think like, oh, my mind is tired, but no, that activity, that overactivity of the mind is impacting your entire system. So I think it is good for all of us to recognize like both sides of it. Like, are we allowing like physical stillness as well as making an attempt to just suspend the mind? And it reminds me of floating. So, I used to go float like every day. And that was one of the best practices I've ever done, because not only did it alleviate the tension off of my entire system, but it's also sensory deprivation. I mean, like, talk about suspending the mind, girl, like you're suspending everything.
Yeah, literally.
Like complete and total relaxation. Like that right there. Listen, if you're stressed out right now, go find a float tank, work it out.
And I mean, that magnesium, once it gets in through your epidermis, like you're going to have no choice. It's just going to do what it does, because magnesium is a relaxant to muscles. I don't know if anybody knows this. They might, but I want to share a fun scientific fact with you. calcium and magnesium
No.
are the two things that operate the muscles to contract and relax.
Well,
Calcium contracts them,
uh,
magnesium relaxes them. And
okay.
a lot of our food, a lot of our
No,
food
I'm
is
laughing
infused.
because your face gets so serious. Like you're like,
Because I'm very serious about this. I'm very passionate about it too. And it's something that I found out, I recognized like not too long ago. And I was like, this is awesome. Why are we fucking it up? So a lot of our food is infused with calcium, because we don't think we get enough. So there's cereal with extra calcium, this and this and this. But where's the magnesium? So we're all like high strung and like contracted as it is. And now we're getting more calcium, which yes, we need. But where is the magnesium, unless you're getting that supplement or you're eating healthfully. But even eating healthfully, a lot of our foods now are the soil stripped of these minerals that we're used to getting. Well, we're not used to it, but that should be going into our food. I'm not even going to go on that. I'm not going to go there.
No, I'm just thinking like we started out of like how your body is the spiritual vessel, honey. Let me tell you something. You talk about welcome back to the rabbit holes. Tiffany is like, let me tell you what this makes me think about. Come on, rabbit, let's go. Honey, I'm so glad to see you back in your element.
Thank you. But
I am.
Just to say, anybody who's taking a calcium and magnesium supplement together, just check that. I'm not a professional. I'm not a doctor. But if there's two things that are together that kind of cancel each other out, are you spending money on unnecessary supplements?
Let's just say Google it. Do your own research.
Yeah, exactly.
She's planted a seed for you.
That's right.
Ooh, honey, you are something. But you know what? Somewhere in that, it made me think of, what was really crazy about the float tank?
Tell me.
It takes effort to relax your neck.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because we're so used to holding our head up. And when you're laying in a space where you are completely weightless and floating, you're still attempting to hold your neck up or your head up because it's just what we do. So you literally have to make a conscious effort to just relax the neck and surrender. So even that, like tonight when you lay down, like as soon as you lay down, take a breath and start to feel your shoulders fall, feel your back muscles relax, but then see if you can release the tension in your neck and just notice what it feels like. Like, oh, like
you do that every night when you go to sleep?
Mush. No. I'm going to do it tonight.
Okay. Me too.
No, I usually, as soon as my head hits the pillow, I go into like gratitude for the day. And then if I don't fall asleep while I'm doing that, I transition into like my intention for being in my state of rest, like allowing the body to recover, blah, 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 wanting to travel to other realms to access higher information. Like, honey, I have like a full blown situation and I always fall asleep in the midst of all of that.
Wow. That's quite a repertoire of going to bed.
Yeah. Better than counting sheep.
Yes. Yeah.
You got to do what gets you there.
Yeah. I counted a lot of sheep in Scotland. They're all over the place.
Right. It's 4:44. Speaking of which, you're going to have to post some pictures to share with all of us because you swear it was so beautiful.
It was.
No,
but I like kept it here in my mind. I'm not really a picture taker.
Well, before we go, let's wrap it up with, I want to know a couple of tips for you. Like when we think about, again, everyone, just think about how receptive the body is, also considering what it projects out, what it stores, what you're holding, how it allows you so many different experiences and translation of everything that you're experiencing, right? Start looking at all of that, your mobility, your physical and non-physical sensory, everything, like what comes up for you in your relationship with your body. But for you, what do you think are like some of your personal best practices that you do in your life, in your routine, that are specifically geared around your relationship with your body?
I think just like really taking care of it and having reverence for it. I mean, sometimes I even just sit and think about, and when I'm in meditation, what it actually is doing all the time for me.
Yeah.
And just, I like move into gratitude and respect for what it actually does. and that kind of tunes me more in to be mindful of what it's doing and how I can support my body, rather than it supporting me and my ego doing whatever my ego wants to do out in the world, because it's a pretty incredible thing. And then that puts me into a state of knowing that it is a messenger for me. Like, it is pulling in all this stuff. And if I can get into my body, that there's more information that I can process. That's, I want to say that it's more natural information. I thought that was me. That scared me. I was like, did I do that?
No. That's what happens when your computer is connected to your phone. Sorry.
So what was I saying?
Sorry. But I just got a text and say, stop it.
Stop it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't know. I completely lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
It's okay. Do you remember what I was talking about?
No.
Oh, shit. Well,
what you do for your body.
Yeah. I think just like stepping back and observing what my body actually is and what it does for me. And then from that, I can then I start working with it, which gains me greater access, because then when I start to understand what it does for me and I start working with it, I'm now taking in more sensory perception. I'm able to read situations better. I'm able to predict things better. It's just like, because I've stepped into utilizing this vessel that's not just housing our soul and carrying us around, but it's another way, it's another language, essentially.
Right. Yeah, I think
They're fired, whoever that is.
I mean, I texted, like, please stop. Please stop trying to FaceTime me. Please stop. Okay, so me and my body. Sorry.
It's okay.
Woo! What I like to do, one is water, because I genuinely have to remind myself and even force myself to drink water. Like, I would go all day and probably not drink water if it wasn't like this conscious choice of
I'm on board with you on that. Mm-hmm.
And so drinking water is, I don't like it necessarily. I do it for my body. Like, that's what, like, my gift to this vessel is like, I'm drinking water for you. Like, take it in. And I hope you absorb in all the nutrients and nourish yourself. Yeah. So that. And then I am getting better with allowing myself to rest, and not pushing myself too hard when I am tired. Because before, I was the person that would have my laptop in bed at like 1, 2 in the morning and I'm still working. Like, I would just, no. Now I'm like, put it away. It's time for rest. I see it as like this, it's almost like the sacred time for the body, like, this is the body's time. Let it recover. So, and I think that's a big thing too. I think what has been the most important thing that I'm doing for the body is starting to recognize what it needs versus what I want. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's still a process. I mean, God knows I love cookies and I can eat all of them all day. But I have to be honest with myself about what my body needs. And, that's been the best thing I could do for this relationship.
Yeah.
Yep. See what it is. High five up top.
Yeah. What you just said reminded me that we did do a podcast, A Relationship with the Body, some time ago. Mm-hmm. But I think that had to do more with like our mental state about the body versus the physical aspect. So if anybody's interested in that, you can go back in the archives and find it. I believe it was called Relationship with the Body.
Yeah, I think that is exactly what it was called. And then next week we have a podcast that's all about emotional navigation, which I think is a great follow-up to this discussion that we've had today, because it really brings in like the impact of our mind and our emotion in relation to the body as well. So
Mm-hmm.
hopefully you all enjoy that. But as always, we would love to hear your comments. Leave them below the video, or you can email us, whatever you like to do. And just again, thank you so much to the patrons who have
Mm-hmm.
supported us in the last year. We
Yes,
hope that
thank
you
you
can
so
make it
much.
to our final last event, which will be the last Wednesday of this month. So mark your calendar. And then go to mindyourchakras.com for Tiffany's
like,
new baby.
announcement?
Mindyourchakras.com for Tiffany's new baby. Oh.
Yeah, Mind Your Chakras. It's the courses page, or mindyourchakras.com/courses. Yeah, that's it.
Well, listen,
Or
you could click on the link in the description,
or that.
because
Yeah.
I'll make sure it's there. So thank you all.
Yes. Thank you. Bye.